The first thing Eliza Brooks noticed about the house on Linden Street was the door. Teal blue, faded and chipped. It stood half open like a breath held too long. She hadn't knocked. She hadn't even walked up the steps yet. But something about the way it leaned just slightly ajar made her feel like it was asking her to enter. She shifted her backpack on one shoulder, the weight of it heavier than just fabric and clothes. Inside was everything she owned, everything she hadn't lost. And in her front pocket, folded tight like a secret, was a name. Cecilia Price. 318. Linden Street. That was all the social worker could give her. No phone number, no photo, just a name, a street, and a shrug. She might be your aunt, he'd said. Your mom listed her once on an old intake form before she aged out. No guarantees. No guarantees. That was Eliza's entire life in 2 words. She stepped onto the porch slowly. The wood creaked under her worn sneakers. The air smelled of salt and magnolia trees. Charleston was humid in a way Atlanta never had been. Like the air here wanted to wrap around you and keep you stuck. Her hand touched the edge of the doorframe, hesitant. Inside, she could hear music playing softly jazz, maybe, or an old gospel record, the kind her mom used to hum when she thought Eliza was asleep. Then came the voice. You might as well close it behind you, sugar. The AC don't run on kindness. Eliza froze. Standing in the hallway was a woman in her 60s, maybe older, wearing a paint-streaked apron and holding a cup of tea, like it was the most natural thing in the world. She didn't look surprised. Are you Cecilia Price? Eliza asked, her voice steadier than she felt. I am, the woman replied. And you must be Diane's girl. Eliza flinched. No one had said her mom's name in months. I'm Eliza, she said quietly. Cecilia nodded once. I figured. You've got her eyes. Come on in, baby. Eliza hesitated. You don't even know me. Cecilia raised an eyebrow. You hungry? Eliza blinked. Yeah. Then I know enough. And just like that, Eliza stepped over the threshold. The inside of the house was warm, but not cluttered. Lived in. There were books stacked on every surface. A tall bookshelf in the living room leaned slightly to one side like it had stories of its own. A Katorange and far too fat watched her from the armrest of a faded blue couch. Cecilia led her to the kitchen, where a pitcher of sweet tea waited beside a bowl of apples. She pulled a sandwich from the fridge, handed it over without ceremony. Eliza ate like she hadn't had a meal in days. She hadn't, not really. So, Cecilia said, stirring her tea, you planning to stay? Eliza looked up. You'd let me? I didn't open that door for nothing. I thought it was already open. Cecilia smiled. Was it? Eliza didn't know how to answer that. After lunch, Cecilia showed her the upstairs room. Used to be my niece's, she said. She stayed here a few months before she joined the Peace Corps. Never came back for her lamp. The room smelled like cedar and dust. A twin bed, a desk, a lamp with a cracked shade. Eliza dropped her backpack on the floor, too tired to care about the creaky floorboards or the old quilts folded neatly on the shelf. Bathroom's down the hall, Cecilia said. I wake up early, so don't be alarmed if there's gospel music before sunrise. Eliza nodded. Then, just before Cecilia left, she paused in the doorway. This house, she said softly, isn't perfect. And I'm not gonna lie and say it'll fix whatever's broken. But if you want a place to breathe, this door stays open. Eliza didn't answer. But that night, for the first time in a long time, she fell asleep without one eye open. Eliza woke to the smell of coffee and something baking banana bread, maybe. For a split second, in that haze between dreams and reality, she forgot where she was. Then the ceiling fan creaked, and the light hit the yellow walls just right, and she remembered. The teal door, the sandwich, the stranger who called herself family. Cecilia was already in the kitchen when Eliza patted down in borrowed socks. Mornin', child, she said, sliding a plate across the table. Banana bread. Called it. Thanks, Eliza mumbled, sitting cautiously. Sleep okay? Yeah. Better than usual. Cecilia smiled to herself, as if that was a win she'd been hoping for. After breakfast, Eliza explored the house. The rooms felt lived in, like they'd been holding stories long before she arrived. In the hallway near the back, she found a photo wall black and white pictures, Polaroids, faded prints in mismatched frames. One caught her attention. A girl, maybe 15, curly hair, sharp eyes, standing in front of a broken-down bicycle. The caption underneath, scribbled in fading ink, read, Diane, 1993. Linden Street. Her mother, Eliza's fingers trembled as she touched the glass. She used to sneak in through the back window when she thought I wouldn't notice, Cecilia said behind her. Swore up and down she wasn't staying, called it a pit stop. Eliza didn't know what to say. She was angry. Cecilia continued. At the world. At herself. Maybe even at me. But she came back. Over and over. Even if just for a night. Why didn't she tell me? Eliza asked, voice barely above a whisper. Cecilia sighed. Sometimes telling the truth means admitting you needed help. That's harder than most people think. Eliza looked again at the photo, as if her mother might suddenly explain herself through it. But the girl in the picture looked nothing like the one Eliza remembered. What happened to her bike? Eliza asked, because it was easier than asking why her mother had never brought her here. Cecilia smiled softly. Left it out in the rain. It rusted. But she never stopped riding it. That afternoon, Cecilia handed Eliza a list of things that needed doing. Not a chore list, exact, more like a participation list. Everyone who stays here earns their keep, she said. No freeloading under my roof. But it's not about the work. It's about knowing you're part of something. Eliza eyed the paper. Dust the front bookshelf. Water the porch plants. Feed the cat. Name, Pancake. Help sort donations in the attic. Why do you have donation stuff? Eliza asked. This house has seen more souls than I can count, Cecilia replied. Some leave clothes. Some leave journals. One boy left a cello in the basement. Every now and then I gather what I can and pass it along. You ever hear back from them? Cecilia looked thoughtful. Not often. Some send postcards. A few never write. That's okay. My door's still open, either way. Eliza didn't say anything, but the words stayed with her. That evening, she climbed into the attic, flashlight in hand. The space was bigger than she expected. Low ceiling, old wooden beams, boxes stacked like secrets. She opened one. Inside, books, a denim jacket, and a crumpled note. For the next girl who thinks she doesn't deserve a soft place to land stay. Even if just one night longer than you want to. It might change everything. No name, just a message. Eliza read it twice, then folded it neatly and slid it into her pocket. On a Wednesday afternoon that smelled like summer rain and dust, a knock came at the door. Eliza had just finished sweeping the porch when she heard two sharp raps, then one softer, almost hesitant. Cecilia was in the back garden, so Eliza opened it. Standing on the other side was a boy, maybe 18, tan skin, windswept hair, backpack slung low on one shoulder, guitar case in the other hand. Is this still Miss Price's house? He asked, voice warm with something halfway between nerves and nostalgia. It is, Eliza replied slowly. He grinned. Good. Thought maybe Google Maps lied. Before she could say more, Cecilia called from behind her. Jude? The boy smiled wider. Hey, Tse. Cecilia stepped forward, arms open, no hesitation. I'll be damned, look at you. Eliza watched, unsure whether to feel confused or annoyed. They hugged like family, like long-lost relatives in a reunion show. Didn't think you'd remember me, he said as they stepped inside. Child, I fed you for 3 summers straight. You think I'd forget that appetite? They laughed. Eliza didn't. She lingered near the stairs, unsure whether to excuse herself or ask questions. Jude glanced her way. You must be the new house soul. Eliza, she offered, guarded. He nodded. Nice to meet you. Cecilia explained in bits and pieces over dinner. Jude had stayed here from ages 12 to 15 off and on during a long custody battle between his grandparents and a mother who kept disappearing. Eventually, his grandmother won and took him back to Asheville. Had a scholarship to music school in New York, Cecilia added proudly. But this one always circles back. I needed air, Jude said. And real cornbread. That night, Eliza couldn't sleep. She told herself it was the thunder outside, but really it was the way Jude slipped so easily back into the house. The way he knew where the tea was, how Pancake liked his bowl tilted, how Cecilia laughed a little louder when he was around. He made it look easy. Belonging. The next day, Eliza found Jude in the attic, tuning his guitar. You always come back? She asked. He looked up. This is the only place that didn't ask me to earn it. Eliza frowned. You didn't have chores? He chuckled. Sure I did, but this house, it made me feel like I was already part of something. Not because I was useful, just because I was here. She sat across from him on a stack of books. Do you think everyone finds a place like this? Jude strummed a soft chord. I think some people get lucky, and some people make their place. Which one are you? He looked at her. Used to think I was just lucky. Now, I'm not so sure. They sat in silence for a while. Then Jude handed her the guitar. Ever played? Number. Good. Less bad habits to fix. She laughed despite herself, then cradled the instrument awkwardly. His hands guided hers gently, patiently. When she got one chord right, he whispered, "See? Not everything broken stays that way." Something in her chest shifted. That night, Eliza stared at the ceiling, thinking about Jude. Not just him, but the way the house seemed to breathe easier with him in it. And how that made her feel displaced, like she was someone passing through, while others had roots here. And that scared her. Because for the first time in years, she wanted to stay. Not just because she had nowhere else to go, but because here, for the first time, she wasn't just surviving. She was seen. It started with something small. A book. Eliza had left it on the kitchen counter the night before her copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, worn and dog-eared, the only book her mother had ever given her. That morning, it was gone. She searched the usual spots. The living room. The side table. Even the porch swing. Nothing. Seen a book? She asked Cecilia over breakfast. Cecilia shook her head. I've been in the garden all morning. She asked Jude next. He blinked. What kind of book? Eliza's, Cecilia added. One she treasures. Jude nodded slowly. I think I saw it on the shelf by the window upstairs. Thought it was one of mine. Moved it when I was cleaning. They found it an hour later face down, half covered by a pile of old mail and music sheets. The cover was bent, the spine cracked. Eliza didn't say anything. She just picked it up, cradled it gently, then disappeared to her room. That night, she skipped dinner. Cecilia knocked once, then twice. Elisa? No answer. Inside, Eliza sat on the floor, staring at the broken spine. Rage simmered in her throat, but under it thicker, heavier was shame. She knew it was just a book. Knew it wasn't done out of malice. But it felt like a piece of her mother had been disrespected, forgotten. Just like Eliza was always afraid she would be. Jude knocked later. I didn't mean to mess it up, he said through the door. I didn't realize. You don't get to realize after it's broken, Eliza snapped. Silence. Then quietly, I'm sorry. The words didn't fix the knot in her chest. Because the truth was, it wasn't about the book. It was about how easily someone else could slip into this house and fit perfectly. How much it reminded her that she was still learning how to belong. The next day, she didn't speak much. She went through her chores like a ghost, avoiding eye contact. Cecilia gave her space, the way only someone who knew grief could. But that afternoon, something happened. While sorting a box of old donations, Eliza found a notebook. At first, it looked ordinary spiral-bound, faded cover. But when she opened it, her breath caught. Inside was her mother's handwriting. Messy loops. Strong lines. Poems. Letters. Unfinished sentences. Maybe I wasn't meant to stay anywhere. But if I ever do, I hope it's somewhere with music and windows that creak when it rains. Eliza flipped through page after page, heart-thudding. Her mother had written about this house. About the kitchen. About Cecilia. About wanting to stay but not knowing how. At the very back, a single line was scribbled across a torn page. If I have a daughter someday, I hope she finds her way here. Eliza stared at the page until her eyes burned. Then she stood and walked straight to the backyard, where Cecilia was pruning roses. You knew, Eliza said. Cecilia looked up, calm. I suspected that you'd find it when you were ready. Why didn't you tell me she wrote that? Because it wasn't for me to say. Some things you have to feel to understand. Eliza felt tears slide down her cheeks. I don't know how to stay either, she whispered. Cecilia walked over, wrapped her arms around her like armor. Then, let's figure it out together. That evening, Eliza sat on the porch with the book in her lap. Jude joined her, careful, quiet. I was jealous, she admitted softly, of how easily you came back. Like you'd never left. Jude looked at her. You think coming back is easy? You make it look that way. It's not, he said. It's terrifying. Why? Because every time I do, I'm afraid the door won't open again. Eliza exhaled. What if one day it doesn't? Jude was quiet for a long moment. Then said, Then I'll find another door, but I'll never forget this one. They sat together as the sky darkened. Inside, Pancake knocked a plant off the windowsill. And in the soft chaos of that moment, Eliza realized something. This house didn't ask her to be perfect. It just asked her to stay. The envelope was plain, white, and slightly damp from the morning dew. Cecilia had found it wedged between the screen door and the frame, like whoever delivered it hadn't cared much whether it made it inside. Eliza, she said, holding it out. It's from Family Services. Eliza froze. She stared at the envelope like it might bite. Cecilia didn't push. She placed it on the kitchen table and went back to chopping peaches. Eliza sat down 20 minutes later, stared at her name in blocky ink, then tore it open with shaking fingers. Dear Miss Brooks, we've reviewed your current placement and found inconsistencies in reported guardianship. As of this notice, your temporary housing status is under reevaluation. You are requested to attend a placement reassessment hearing on the 8th of June at 10 a.m. Failing to appear may result in automatic reassignment to state care. Eliza read it twice, then a third time. It didn't matter that she had a room here, or chores, or memories, or warmth, or even maybe love. Legally, this wasn't her home. She folded the letter, too neatly, and placed it back in the envelope like if she was gentle enough, it might change its contents. Jude found her on the front steps that evening, hands in her lap, gaze blank. You okay? He asked. Number. Want to talk? Number. So I sat beside her, quiet. I have to go to a hearing, she said eventually. They might move me, again. He looked at her. What happens if they do? Eliza didn't answer, because she knew what it meant. Another group home, another city, another school. More rules. More strangers. More nights waiting for people to remember her name. I thought I was done running, she said softly. Thought maybe I could stay this time. You still can. Not if the state says otherwise. Jude's voice was calm. The state doesn't know this house. That made her laugh, bitterly. The state doesn't care. Then we fight. Eliza turned to him. You think I haven't fought before? I've been fighting since I was 5 years old. Every time someone left. Every time I had to pack in 10 minutes or lose my stuff. Every time I had to lie and say I was fine when I was breaking inside. I believe you, Jude said. But maybe this time, you don't have to fight alone. Later that night, Cecilia sat Eliza down at the kitchen table. She didn't say much. Just poured her a cup of tea and slid over a worn manila folder. Inside were documents, letters, photos, legal paperwork from decades ago, guardianships, affidavits, even a few character references from people long gone. I've done this before, Cecilia said. Not with you, but with others. Elisa looked up. I can't adopt you, legally, she continued. Not at my age. But I can stand up for you. Say what I've seen, what I know. And what's that? Eliza whispered. That this is your home, Cecilia said simply. And you belong here. Not because of law, but because you showed up and stayed and changed the air in this house. Eliza tried not to cry. Failed. The day of the hearing came too fast. Jude drove her in his beat-up truck. Cecilia came too, hair braided back tight, wearing a navy blazer with a pin that said, "Love is a verb." The courtroom was sterile, fluorescent, unwelcoming. The judge looked tired. The caseworker looked distracted. Eliza tried to keep her hands still in her lap. Then Cecilia spoke. Not loudly, not emotionally, just clearly. She's not my blood. But she's my kin, she said. And I've seen more family fall apart because people waited for permission to love each other. I didn't wait. And neither did she. The judge blinked, asked Eliza a few questions, asked the caseworker even fewer, then, after what felt like hours, nodded once. We'll approve the temporary extension, he said. Full reassessment in 6 months. Until then, stay where you are, permanently for now. That night, back on the porch, Eliza held the letter again, this time with the new ruling inside. Not perfect, not forever, but a beginning, and for once, that was enough. The first rain of autumn came quietly, washing over Charleston like a memory. The teal door stuck slightly now, swollen from humidity. Eliza pushed it open with her shoulder, balancing a basket of folded laundry on one hip. Pancake the cat meowed from his usual spot on the couch, demanding attention and pretending not to care. It had been 5 months since the hearing, 5 months since the state gave her time, 5 months since she let herself believe she could stay. And now, she wasn't just staying, she was belonging. She helped Cecilia catalog donations, write grant letters, organize food drives. She filled notebooks with poems and essays and lists of people she never wanted to forget. She and Jude played music on the porch some evenings, a soft rhythm of familiarity. He wasn't staying forever, he was leaving again in January to finish school in New York. But he promised to write. More importantly, he promised to come back. One Sunday afternoon, Eliza opened the front door and found a girl standing there. Skinny. 17 maybe. shaking slightly. A duffel bag clutched to her chest. The girl said. I was told this was a safe place? Cecilia was in the garden, so Eliza stepped forward, hand resting on the teal frame. What's your name? She asked. Aaliyah, the girl whispered. Eliza nodded. You hungry? The girl hesitated, then nodded. Come in. And just like that, the door stayed open. That night, while making grilled cheese and tomato soup for two, Eliza stood at the stove, remembering her first night here. How lost she felt, how unwanted, and how one woman, without hesitation, had given her a room, a sandwich, and a choice, stay or leave, but on her own terms. Now she was the one cooking, listening, keeping space. When Aaliyah finally fell asleep in the guest room, curled under a handmade quilt, Eliza walked into the living room and found Cecilia with a mug of tea. You saw her, Eliza said softly. I see them all, Cecilia replied. But it's not about me anymore, is it? Eliza looked down, smiled. Number, I guess not. You did good, baby. Eliza sat beside her, shoulder to shoulder. I was scared she wouldn't trust me, she admitted. Cecilia nodded. We all start scared. It's what we do next that counts. Later that week, Eliza wrote something on the back of her mother's notebook, the one she found in the attic. Maybe I wasn't meant to stay anywhere, you wrote. But I stayed. And now I know the door wasn't just for me. It's mine to hold open, too. She placed the notebook back in the attic. Let it wait for the next girl. The one who would need it.